Mine, you found someone new, but I can't change my love the way that you do.
This is the story of a lost neighborhood and of its people who did not want to go.
I don't want no money. I want my home. The old man is old. See how the old man is old? No more. That's enough. I don't want to get out. I said to my two daughters, they don't want to get out too because they spend a lot of money. Plenty of money they spend in this place. We're not getting out to nobody. Never.
Hi, welcome to the West End Video Newsletter. Today I have with me Tom Simmons. He's president of the Parish Council of St. Joseph's. And the reason we're here is because every year at St. Joseph's they have a Mass for deceased West Enders. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be former West Enders. Anybody that was a member of the parish of St. Joseph's is welcome to come to the church. On September 29th, we will have the Mass for deceased West Enders. And we do it every year, like I said. And we have Tom here, not only for the Mass on deceased West Enders, but we also have him here because this is a special year for St. Joseph's. St. Joseph's this is their
140th year.
140th
year.
Anniversary. I went to 8 years of Catholic school in the West End, so there was a whole. Your life was sort of ingrained into the Catholic Church in the West End, and I assume that was like other areas too, West Roxbury, North End. And so tonight we're going to talk about I guess, would you like to talk about the 140th anniversary?
Yes, if I could, please. You know, one of the things about St. Joseph's Church that I love to talk about is that our church became a Catholic church in 1862. That's
Right.
the same time they purchased the Bullfinch over in the North End, the same date. But St. Joseph's Church became a parish in 1862, so in 1962, and then we had 125th, and now we're coming up to 140th in 2002, and we're going to celebrate this. But one of the things about St. Joseph's Church is our grand history. Not only was the church not built in 1862, but it was a congregational church, the 12th Street Congregational Church, and was built by one of the great architects in Boston, who's known as Alexander Parish. And he's one of the great, lesser known than Bullfinch, but still one of the great architects in Boston. And for people who don't know him, I like to point to one big thing that everybody knows, and that's the Faneuil Hall project. The Great Hall, the big white building, and the two sets of red buildings on the side are both his design. The Church of the Church of the Presidents, I should say, in Quincy Mass, is also his design. And also the titular church there, the Episcopal Church on Tremont Street, is also his church. And he's done a lot of other things around there, but this was known as his greatest church that he ever built, back when he built it. And it's a beautiful church, and we're celebrating 140 years. And we're inviting everybody to come down, everybody who was in the West End before it got torn down to come down, and also our current parishioners are also in the celebration.
Yeah, well, and you, as I found out today, I didn't realize that you were a former West Ender yourself.
Yeah, right. A Chicago transplant, 1953.
Well, that's good. Well, you know, what's his name? Brooke was also lived in the West End.
Right,
Senator
right,
Brooke also
right.
lived in the West End when he was going to law school, I believe.
We have a lot of greats coming out of the West End there. A lot of greats coming out.
There was a whole.
And I agree that the church was much more when I was coming along in the 50s there too. You had a lot of social occasions, a lot of people coming in. And I like to point out to people who really don't know how great the church was in the West End. Going back in some of the records, the parish was 12,000 people in 1900.
Right.
12,000.
And Cardinal O'Connor
was a curate there.
That's right.
And that's why they named the street the Cardinal O'Connell Way.
And a lot of people now don't even know who Cardinal O'Connor is. O'Connell, I mean.
Our first cardinal.
Right.
Cardinal.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
so that's unfortunately, as you get older, everything changes. What are we going to be doing for the 140th anniversary?
Well, we have a lot of things planned. First of all, we're going to start the kickoff, you might say, with the day is going to be September 29th. We're going to have with the Mass, as usual, and with a reception downstairs. And we're also going to have different things during the year, maybe once every month or once every 2 months, something for everybody, so we get everybody participating, like in the Old West End, to come back and really feel part of the church. And then at the very end of the year, we hope to have a reception that everybody can be invited to. And so we're going to have a lot of things going on. We're planning it now. Our third planning session actually is tomorrow night.
Well, the one thing I do every year, it's my own personal tradition, and I do it every year, is I go back and go to midnight mass.
Oh.
Me and my family have, since I started the newsletter and the TV show, which is getting close to 20 years, we've gone to midnight mass at St. Joseph's every year.
We still have it. And, you know, one thing that's interesting about that the midnight mass attendance is increasing.
Yes, I noticed.
It's increasing.
Yeah.
And in the snowstorm, we had the snowstorm one year, it was still good.
Yeah. When I first started, it was really weak. There weren't that many people going.
That was Father Buck, but he continued it on. He made it happen.
Right. A lot of churches have dropped their midnight mass because of that reason.
Right. But we feel that being in the inner city, in the heart of the inner city, that we can take people and say we're still doing it, and the people who come to visit Boston, who go to the restaurants at night on Christmas Eve and so forth, can still come to Mass and celebration of Mass at midnight Mass.
Yeah. It was when the West End was up. It was like a highlight. It was like the social event of the year, at least for Catholics, you know. And it seemed like everybody, you know, midnight mass was where you went.
That's right.
It was like
the high point of Christmas.
Right. Yeah. It really was. Of course, everything has changed. You know, basically we're dinosaurs now because the mores and the culture of the country has changed quite a bit. But I still go back, and my kids enjoy it too, which is. I never thought, you know.
It's known as the circle of Catholicism.
Yeah.
You keep going around and around.
Yeah.
But we plan a lot of things that's going to happen for the 140th. If anybody who's come to St. Joseph's knows that we have what is known as the Hall of Flags inside the church.
That's right.
And these were flags that were given us during the bicentennial years. We were a bicentennial church. And we had the bishop coming in from Britain and state senators and people coming from foreign countries. And we have a flag there from every country, I should say, where people came in from the West End, by the West End in the Bostons. We have a lot of flags around there. And what we want to do in the 140th, is looking forward to the 150th, is to expand that. And also have flags involved from the people who are actually in the West End now. Where did they come from? Because we were a great immigrant church, and we were a great part where people came into Boston through the West End and North End.
And what I remember explicitly about the St. Joseph's Church was when you were younger and you went to any of the high masses, you weren't allowed to sit downstairs. You had to sit up in the balcony. And that's really, I know that you can't go up there anymore because I guess
the fire laws. And
you
have to have two exits down, and they wanted to put an exit right down from the balcony down to the sanctuary, and that wasn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. And that was my view of, you know, when I was young, of anything of any importance that was going on. I saw from the balconies.
Well, people who don't know St. Joseph's have to realize that the balcony not only is in the back, but it also comes down the side like the Protestant churches.
Right.
So we have balconies coming right down the side of the church.
And that's unusual in most Catholic churches.
That's right.
And that's because it was a Protestant church.
It was a Protestant church, right.
It's a beautiful church. I still sometimes go in there, you know, when the church is open during the daytime and I'm in the area, and I'll just sit and look because it's so quiet, and the way the light filters through those stained glass windows, it's a beautiful place, nice, quiet, reflective place. I really enjoy the church. And I'm glad that I can do, we do this stuff every year. Father Buck was the one that started the Mass for Deceased West Enders, and I'm glad that Father Troy decided to keep running it.
Right.
And I'll try to do whatever I can to help you guys out.
We appreciate it. The main thing we're trying to get to the people and tell everybody that if they have any deceased members of their family, they can call the church and let us know. We'll send them out the paperwork so we can get it back. We publish a book every year, excuse me, with all the names of the deceased members. And we'd like to keep it going. We'd like to keep a record in the church because people keep looking back in history at historical records. Right. And we want to keep ours up to date and also let everybody know that St. Joseph's Church is still open, and people still come back for weddings, people still come back for masses, and people still come back for marriages.
That's right. It was strange when the West End was torn down. Most people were still, people still bury themselves out of the West End.
Yeah, they do. They still come back home.
It's amazing. All these people are all over Massachusetts, South Shore, North Shore, here, there, everywhere, and they come back and they. Well, even like my mother-in-law died. She was in California, so naturally, you know, she was buried out in California, or cremated, I think,
California.
Out in California. But we had
Mass.
a mass here.
everybody's
we had a
welcome to
memorial
that,
mass here,
yeah.
and then we went downstairs and had
Reception.
we set up a little reception so that everybody could eat. And that's the way it is, you know. As far away as we get from there, we always seem to end up
back there. You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting. We had the 125th, and we had the reception at the, it's called a Swiss Hotel now,
Yeah.
but it was called something else then.
Liberty something or
Liberty Square or whatever.
Yeah.
But we had people who came back from Europe, from Greece, from England,
Huh?
and people came back from Japan. And Father Buchan planned it. I was on the planning committee, and we
Right.
planned about 500 people.
Yeah.
And so we went down to the hotel, which was the only hotel at that time. And we got the big ballroom for 500. And as people kept sending in, we had to get 2 smaller ballrooms on both sides and
Right.
put the big TVs up. And we ended up with about 800 people coming
Yeah,
in.
I remember.
Which was
I was involved in the planning. I remember at that time we had started the newsletter. It was only we had only started the newsletter about 2 years, and Raymond Papa was. I was working with Raymond, and myself and Raymond went to quite a few of the meetings
yeah,
down
right.
at the lower church,
Right.
and try to
Right.
keep it up. I was, the one thing to this day that amazes me. There was a first grade nun, Agnes Marie. And everybody loved her. She was. I think she's still living, but you know, she's quite old now. And we went to the reception, and she was there. And I went up and then I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, Jim Campana."
I recognized you.
So I said, you know, at that time we had
Right.
like some front page stories in the Globe and everything. So I figured she had picked it up from
Oh,
you know
that's right. Good.
reading the thing. So
Good.
my brother Paul come up behind me, and he goes. He walks over there. She goes, "Oh, Paul Campana." Blew my mind. Well, you know, West Enders come back for this mass every year from all over the place. We're going to break now for we have some video. We're going to show you how in the past what the church was like and what the mass is like and with the people that were there, and we're going to show you what's going on or what went on in the past. Okay?
I'm getting pictures. Oh, Joe, I'm going to get... I know your brother, I know your mother.
Well, we're back. That was last year's and the years before that we have videotape of the reunion, not the reunion, of the Mass. And this year it'll be September 29th.
11:30.
11:30, that's right. Everybody's invited, even non-Catholics, if you want to come and see what's going on.
We have non-Catholics who came. We have
West
non-Catholics
End
who
was
came.
always
Right.
pretty
Right.
open in that way. A lot of the people, as you can see, that they were down there. You know, we have the hall downstairs, and afterwards, and like I say, the church is beautiful. Anyway, it's a beautiful church. It's worth just taking it's worth just going and looking at the church.
Right.
Really.
You know, I saw some people down there that came in last year who hadn't been there. I hadn't seen in a good 30, 35 years. They came back and said they wanted to come back and see the old church and get some old friendships going. And one thing it has done, which I've seen in the number of years that I've been there, it has opened up friendships that were there in the past.
Yeah.
And people get in contact. People are taking their phone numbers in different places and then getting together. So it really brings people back together. And we also have the people not only from the old West End of those days, but our own parish, the current West Enders, they also join, and they can get the feeling of what the West End really was.
And you're getting, well, for a while there, the parish was real sparse.
Oh, very sparse. When I was married there, the only building out in the whole place was just the church.
Yeah.
That's all there was.
And when we first started, if you went to a Mass in St. Joseph's, there was only like 15 to 20 people. But it's building up to the point where it's becoming a viable parish again.
Yes, this is a very, very viable parish, and people are interested. And we're getting not only elderly people, we're getting young people. We're baptizing, and a lot of marriages are taking place. So we're looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's like you harken back to the days when when it was a church, and now it looks more like a suburban church because outside the green and everything. it was brick.
We have Father Gabe Troy loves color.
Yeah.
He was former head of the Missionary Society of St. James the Apostle. And he was also pastor of the Bullfinch Church over there in the North End before he got to us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. After Father Buck died. But he said that he wanted to open the parish up. And one of the things he's done is to put flowers.
Right.
And now we have what is known as the St. Joseph Garden at the back end of the church next to the children's place, Children's Burn Center. And we get a lot of comments on that, a lot of comments on that.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward right in that area to put a Chruch up for Christmas. That's our next thing. And also we're going to put a statue of St. Joseph's there, too.
Oh,
a nice, big, huge statue of St. Joseph's there.
When we were in the West End, a lot of those statues were donated by different people, and they put them up.
Well,
I remember.
Tell everybody we take all the donations that are possible. We take donations of money, greenbacks, and statues if they want to. You know, it's one of the things that people called up me and asked me, can they give money and make a statue and give to the church in honor of somebody who's deceased? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, we can do that.
Yeah, that's
and we want to open the parish up so that everybody feels wanted, everybody feels open.
That's right.
That's why we want to put the flags up so that people can understand that we know that they're there. And
so don't forget, September 29th.
September 29th, 11:30 is the Mass. And immediately after Mass, we're going to have the reception downstairs.
That's right. And
everybody's invited. And there'll be food served.
That's right. And
main thing.
We have a good time. We have a good time every year. I haven't missed any from the time we started it. I guess I don't know if I'm the only one that's been.
No, you're a mainstay down there. Believe me, you're a mainstay.
Yeah, and Father Troy is. I'll tell you the truth. I was a little worried that when the transition, Father Buck died, and there was a transition, that we may have gotten somebody. Sometimes you get people that really don't understand the lay of the land.
That's right.
And they come in and they think that they can, they'll make everything better by changing it, and what they do is destroy it. But Father Gabe, he's
very good. He came in and took right over.
As a matter of fact, everything's running basically the same as it was before.
But he's very open. He's very open.
Yeah.
He has that missionary feeling behind him.
Yeah.
and the church is open, and everything is going very good.
Well, I liked Father Buck a lot too. There were some people that thought that Father Buck was a little strong, but I liked him. I got along very good with Father Buck.
He was the conservative type, but the
Yeah.
big thing about Father Buck, that when the church was going down, and we had the pastors there who sometimes neglected the church, he asked for the church,
Right.
and he said he was going to make it stay. And
That's
he made
right.
it stay.
Indeed. Yeah, you know, I remember Father Buck. The first time I ever met him was I was out of the West End for a couple of years. I don't remember how many. And my mother she had one of those old Ringo washing machines, and she had caught her hand in the wringer and broke her hand. And I was at the hospital, and I was waiting for her to come out because they were whatever they were doing. And I was walking around, you know, I came out of the Mass General and I was walking around. And I walked by the church, and Father Buck was out there. And he says, "You're a Catholic." I said, "How do you know?" He says, "You made the sign of the cross."
We went by the church.
You know, it was such an ingrained thing that from my youth, I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Well, I remember the days when you used to ride the Orange Line, and now it's called the Orange Line, but the subway out of Forest Hill, and you came down past the cathedral. Many people used to tip their hats or make the sign of the cross when they went past the cathedral.
Oh, that was true.
Those were the
Either
old
the sign of
days.
the cross or tipped your head as you walked by. That was, you know,
sign of respect.
Respect, right. Of course, things have changed, like they said, considerably.
But we want you all to come back and feel at
That's
home
right.
and have masses set for your deceased members. Everything is open.
That's
and we
right.
want you to come back, participate in our 140th anniversary, and then maybe participate at the very end of it when we have everybody together in
That's
the parish.
right.
But it's open.
And if you come to 29th, you can get the full agenda of what's happening for the next year.
Right. And one thing I want to ask people who see the show, the picture of St. Joseph's Church you've seen on the camera is a big picture. The crucifixion behind the altar.
Right.
And we're looking for something about the picture. So if
where it
anybody
came
knows
from?
where it came from, who did it, or
who
when
did it, who
they put
painted
the
it,
church and everything.
Yeah, it's been there as
Long time.
far as I can remember.
Right.
Yeah.
We're looking, somebody's got to know something. Somebody
Yeah.
came up the other day and talked about the St. Joseph's Temperance Society. We used to have the building on Cambridge Street, the red building right there. But anyway, he said his father was president of the Temperance Society, and he has a picture of his father giving the check when they sold the building. That's a long time ago.
Well, way back, I understand they had a drum and bugle corps.
Yeah.
They had a drama club.
They had everything.
In the 20s, the 20s and 30s, you know, it was even more of a going concern than when I was growing up. Of course, when I was growing up, it was the end of the war, and things were changing fast, not just in the West End, everywhere. And like there was like sort of a shuffle, and a lot of the things got
Moved around. But the
yeah.
church still stands. It's still a grand church, and we have a handicapped elevator.
Right.
And it was interesting that when we put the elevator in, I had the opportunity to go down and see how Alexander Parish built the church. He had a granite foundation all the way around, huge timbers going underneath, and he built it so that all the construction around the church doesn't have a crack in it.
Right.
Really a great
Well,
church.
he did a great job. I didn't realize that he had done that. I remember that it was the 12th Street Congregationalist,
Church, right.
and because I think they had another church first, and then they moved out.
Yeah, we had the Guardian Angel Chapel down there, the gathering of the church.
Yeah.
And then the cardinal at that point bought the St. Joe's in 1862.
Right.
Right.
And it's like I say, it is a beautiful church, and it's still, like I say, it's worth just going to see. And if you're around the 29th of September,
At 11:30
at
a.m. in the morning,
11:30 a.m.,
and the reception immediately afterwards,
Right.
please come.
and you can talk to all of us, and
Right.
everybody will respond to you as much as possible.
And we have phone numbers available, and when you call the phone company, it's 523-4342, but you can get us, but don't forget it's St. Joseph's Church in the West End.
Right. There are other St.
St.
Joseph's
Joseph's Church,
churches,
right.
that's right.
On
And
Cardinal O'Connell Way.
Cardinal O'Connell Way.
And we have the retired priest right next to us,
That's true,
and
too.
they're always invited to our ceremonies. We invite them over to participate, and they're very nice people over there.
Okay, Tom, well, we're going to have to start wrapping up the show now. We're running to the end of the show. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the West End? Or?
Well, I just tell everybody to please come, and we're doing great things down in the church. We want to open the church that everybody will come, and they're seeing footage of last year, but this year
That's
should be
right.
better because it's our 140th anniversary.
That's right.
And don't forget, in 10 years, it'll be even better. It'll be 150.
150, yeah.
Right. But,
If I'm still here.
we'll both be here. We'll both be here.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to come.
Right.
And we want everybody to call up if they haven't, get a letter from us so they can get their deceased members in.
Right.
And bring their friends. You can bring your friends, your family, and if they're non-Catholic, that's all right too. Don't
That's
worry.
right.
It's always-
Well, even when the West End was up, non-Catholics went to the church.
That's right.
It's strange because I have Jewish friends that went to the church.
Midnight
just-
Mass especially.
Midnight Mass, yeah, just
Right.
to show up. So I guess that's basically the end of the show. I guess we're coming to the end, and we're going to show a little. We're going to end up with a little bit of footage of last year. It was right after September 11th, and it'll show
God bless America.
Yeah, the
We're
parish singing "God Bless America."
And they show the really participation, and if you look at the faces of the people, you'll see that they really are great parishioners, and they're
That's
coming
right.
into the church and really prayerful. If they go downstairs, they're enjoying themselves as a parish community, and that's what we want.
So we'll see you at the next West End video newsletter.
Out of sight, out of mind. You found someone new, but I can't change my love the way that you do.
This is the story of a lost neighborhood and of its people who did not want to go.
I don't want no money. I want my home. The old man is old. See how the old man is old? No more, that's enough. I don't want to get out. I said to my two daughters, they don't want to get out because they spend a lot of money. Plenty of money they spend in this place. We not get none to nobody. Never.
Hi, welcome to the West End Video Newsletter. Tonight we're going to talk about the reunion we had in November. It was a smash reunion. Good food, good time, good friends. Man, it was fabulous. We haven't had a reunion for about 10 years, but this time it really turned out well. The food was good. We had it at Anthony's in Somerville here, and we had about 175 people there, and everybody just seemed to have a good time. The basis of the reunion was that the Crescents decided to get back together. Frankie Spinelli, Parish, his real name is Frankie Spinelli, and that's how I know him. But his professional name is Frankie Parish. He's a band leader. And he has his own little band down in New York, and they decided to come up and do a show for the reunion because this group that called themselves the Crescents in the late 50s were getting together again to sing. I mean, they were doing it just for fun. This wasn't the Beatles getting together or anything like that, but it was just a lot of fun. They got together and they sang. Back in the 50s, they were on community auditions, and they used to do local record hops and everything. The only one that decided to continue it was Frankie Spinelli. He went down to New York, and while he's never hit it big, he's never been like, one of these Frank Sinatra or anybody, but he makes a living out of it. He makes a comfortable living, and he's pretty good. He sings the blues and a little rock and blues sometimes he mixes in. He's a very interesting person. I used to hang around with him actually in the West End. It was a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen him, actually about 40 years. And we got there, and everybody was having a great time. We got together, people were mingling and talking, and then the food came. The food was pretty good, actually. It was great. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody had enough to eat, plenty of food. They had a few drinks. We even had a Globe reporter there. He wasn't there for the reunion. He was talking about, what do you call it, the end of urban renewal in Boston, and they're thinking about cutting it out, and he was there interviewing us to see what we thought about urban renewal and eminent domain. Naturally, we told him. But the whole time was a great time. It was fun. People were looking at their pictures. We had a bunch of pictures on the wall of people. Richie Terranova, who lives in Colorado, emailed me a bunch of pictures from the old days. We took them and we put them on the walls, and everybody was having a great time. It was just an all-around good time. And then we got into the music. The music was pretty good. You know, it was all clean fun. Everybody had good fun. We weren't there, you know, like I say, to watch the Beatles come back. It was just a great time. They had a good time. We had a good time. Everybody had a good time.